Good evening. Welcome to the Franchise Time Machine, episode 46. We're going to be doing a couple more games of the team not safe for work player names. These are the all-time dirtiest sounding names from across baseball history. But before that, I wanted to go back over the last few streams, just kind of recap them. So, the last few games, or last few streams, doing the series. Um, started when the Nelly Fox card dropped. So I think this was last Thursday. Nelly Fox in Perfect Team has one of the highest avoid strikeout ratings, avoid K. It's in the 170s. And I kind of wondered what would happen if a team of all Nelly Foxes faced a team of all Nate Cornejos, who has one of the lowest stuff ratings in Perfect Team. So basically, stuff is for a pitcher relates to how likely they are to strike out batters. And avoid K for batters is kind of like what it says. It's how likely they are to avoid striking out. So if you have low avoid K, you're more likely to strike out. It's a little, you have to kind of follow the wording around, but lower avoid K means more strikeouts. So if you have batters with high avoid K and pitchers with low stuff, you should theoretically have very few strikeouts. And I was wondering if it was just a universe of all Nate Cornejos who don't strike anyone out. His card season, I think he had a 2.1 strikeout per nine ratio, which is historically low. And then Nelly Fox, in his card year, I think 1957, struck out around 13 times in over 700 plate appearances. There are some batters who struck out even less than Nelly Fox, but his card is what kind of sparked this idea. So kind of just stuck with him. But then things got weird. So I set it like I normally do. It was a two-team league, 162 game season. Each team had 12 Nate Cornejos from the same year, and each team had 14 Nelly Foxes from the same year. And just to avoid any issues with like fielding becoming a problem, for each team I gave two of the Nelly Foxes catcher ability, and 5 or 6 of them outfielder ability. So again, these are all teams that should be identical, right? So all have the same person, basically. Not they're they're not technically cloned because I just brought them in 14 times, but 12 and 14 times, but there are 12 copies of the same player. So for all intents and purposes, identical. And so what I was expecting was a league with just almost no strikeouts. But that is not what happened. Um, Here's an example of the Nelly Foxes. Right, this is a guy again who struck out 13 times in over 700 plate appearances. He's striking out 70 to 80, 90 times, which is around league average. Okay, so then who's doing all the striking out? So we look at the Nate Cornejo stats. You notice the starters at the top here? All their strikeouts per nine are less than half, 0.5 strikeouts per nine innings. But then look at all the bullpen Nate Cornejos. Somewhere in the 20s. A 20 plus strikeout per nine ratio is insane because the major league record for strikeouts in a 9 inning game is 20. And so basically, this is saying over the course of the season, he struck out more than the record for 9 inning games on an ongoing basis. So what's happening? Well, I talked to a few folks. They call it the totals issue. I think it was normalization. So what happens is for the Nelly Foxes, for example, right, his 170 something avoid K, that's all there is in the league. So then that ends up becoming kind of league average. And so he strikes out an average amount, which is around 70 to 90 times. Okay, so that's explained. But then who's doing all the striking out on the pitching side? Because Nate Corneo should not be striking out. So normalization is part of it. But the normalization is happening to two different types of pitchers: starter Nate Cornejos and reliever Nate Cornejos. And so we've been told anecdotally, and I think some folks, some of the modeling folks have data that supports it. And I think we've been told by folks at OOTP that this does happen. We haven't been told specifically in detailed quantitative terms, but we've been told it happens that when you put pitchers in the bullpen, um, a few things happen. They only use their 2 or 3 best pitches, and they get a stuff boost. I don't think anyone's quantified what that stuff boost is, but in this universe, it's enough to make a huge difference because now the in the batting world, there's only one batter, Nelly Fox, over and over. So his 170 avoid K becomes the average, and people now Nelly Foxes now strike out. But in the pitching world, there are now two types of Nate Cornejos: the low stuff starters and the higher stuff, because of the stuff boost, relievers. And even though the difference might be small, it's big enough because there's only two kinds of pitchers. So they become the bookends for the league. And so there's only two types of Nate Cornejos. There's no books in between. It's just the bookends. So on both teams, the starters are striking out less than 0.5 batters per 9 innings, and the relievers are striking out 10, 15, in a few cases, 23, 24 batters per 9 innings. So that was interesting. I learned a lot about the base game. I learned a lot about the reliever stuff boost. I learned a lot about normalization in the game. But I still wanted to see this experiment where I want to see Nelly Foxes and Nate Cornejos face each other and throw and hit almost no strikeouts. So then I had this idea. If the normalization is a problem, then let's make, instead of two identical teams of Nate Cornejos and Nelly Foxes, let's switch it up a little bit. And the reason to switch it up is, um, so I tried this in episode 44. It didn't work, so I couldn't figure out how to generate a schedule because I messed up. Here's what happened. When it was just Cornejos and Foxes, I usually take over Oakland Athletics in 2023. And then because I like the Mariners, I took over the Mariners. They're both in the AL West. So when I deleted everyone else, they're both remaining in the AL. So it generated a 162 game schedule, no problem. And we played a season. Well, in episode 44, when I was trying these two different teams with Nelly Fox's, Nate Cornejos, and two new players, a high stuff pitcher, and a low avoid K hitter. When they face each other, there should be tons of strikeouts. But you have to mix and match, right? The high strikeout pitcher has to be on the same team as the Nelly Foxes. And then the high strikeout batters have to be on the team with Nate Cornejos because you want Cornejo facing Nelly Fox. Well, my two favorite teams are the Mets and Mariners. So when I put one team on the Mets, one team on the Mariners, the game wouldn't generate a schedule. And it was because you don't need to. You don't need to have a season to determine the pennant winner. At least this is what I think was happening. The Mets are the only team in the NL, so they're going to win the pennant by default. And the Mariners are the only team in the AL, so they're going to win the pennant by default. So it went straight to the World Series. But I wanted them to play an interleague season of 162 games, and I had interleague games checked. So couldn't get it to work, and it's getting late. So I said, okay, I'll do this the next time. So then that brings us to episode 45, with some helps from Twins _34. who by the way knows the base game really well. If you're interested in the base game, I recommend highly recommend you follow him. He also has YouTube videos, but again, it's twins underscore 34. Um, I'll type his name in the chat here. I don't think he's on right now, but uh, twins underscore 34. Okay, he's a base game expert. I highly recommend you follow him if you have interest in the base game. So he didn't actually help me find the answer, but he gave me enough insights into how the scheduling works that I realized it was either going to be figure out how I got the schedule to work the first time or just start all over. There wasn't going to be another way to salvage the season. So at least I knew that. Well, it turns out all I had to do was and previously I had taken the Mets and the Mariners from the NL and the AL, moved them both into the NL, trying to recreate what happened previously when it worked. Still didn't work. Turns out all I had to do was I just had to make sure I deleted the AL. Having the league existing, even though it was empty, was causing the problem. So once I fixed that, the scheduling worked, so I was able to run the sim. Um, so so how did this work? I should have actually created an exhibit for it, but the way it worked was because we now have a high strikeout pitcher, and it was Matthew Boyd from the Tigers. I think it might have been 2007. He had around 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was on the team, the Nelly Fox team, and so he would face the batters on the Nate Cornejo team. So for that, he used Evan White from the Mariners. In 2020, he had a over 40% strikeout percentage. So almost half the time he went to bat, he would strike out. And he also didn't have tons of power and was like a 180 hitter. So to me, he was kind of like the Cornejo equivalent, where he's not a great player, has a huge strikeout percentage. Whereas Nate Cornejo, not a great pitcher, has a super low strikeout percentage. Um, so once I got that working, ran the simulation, and it did kind of do what I was hoping for. So here's the pitching stats of Team Cornejo White. So all these Nate Cornejos are facing Nelly Foxes, and the strikeouts per nine are even lower than they were before. Um, Actually, no, they're not. They're around the same, under 0.5. The bullpen strikeouts per nine now are lower because the slightly higher stuff Nate Cornejo is no longer the only alternative to the low stuff normal Nate Cornejo. Now there's this much higher strikeout per nine pitcher in the game, and so this Nate Cornejo now behaves much more like we expected. 2.5 or lower strikeouts per 9 innings. So yeah, so the pitching, the Nate Cornejos pitch the way I was hoping they would. I was actually hoping they'd be even lower because they're only facing Nelly Foxes. I was hoping some would have like 0.1, 0.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and that didn't happen. So then let's go to his counterpart, the Nelly Foxes, on the other team because these Nate Cornejos are facing these Nelly Foxes. Now, with the normalization, he was striking out 70 to 90 times. He's now back down to what we were expecting, 13 to 20 strikeouts per 9 innings. Um, but those are still relatively close to his historic averages. I was hoping that if he's only facing Nate Cornejos, they would drop into the single digits. And in a couple cases, they did, right? This Nelly Fox 14 had a full season, 620 some plate appearances, struck out 9 times. So, and I don't think it's linear. I think once you get below 15, it gets progressively harder to strike out even less. Um, so I think getting him down to 9 was quite a feat, actually. But it wasn't quite what I was hoping for in terms of like no one had like 1 or 2 or 0 strikeouts on the season. But it did what I wanted. And so this normalization busting approach does seem to work. And then let's see what happened on the other side. This wasn't really part of the goal of the experiment, but the Matthew Boyd, who had 11.6 strikeouts per nine, his strikeouts per nine are actually significantly higher, about 50% higher. And but I don't think that's a normalization issue. I attribute that to he's only facing Evan White, who strikes at a ton. So um, I just think it's his strikeouts per nine is boosted by only facing a high strikeout batter. And then Evan White, um, several versions of him struck out um, way more than 200 times in a season. And he's not getting a ton of plate appearances, right? So it seems like the AI used the bench pretty freely. So these 450, 470 plate appearance, 500 plate appearance seasons, I think you could, boost these strikeout totals 30, 40 more percent to reflect a full season. So you're talking, at that point, almost 300 strikeouts, maybe more um, per season. So anyway, that side of it worked pretty well too. But the most important thing is, I think we're starting to figure out how to avoid this normalization problem. So Twins use the example of, um, if I think it was Twins, might have been Nolan. If you bring in a bunch of Babe Ruth into the game, so that like he's the predominant batter, you're not going to have a bunch of Babe Ruth hitting 50 home runs a game because he becomes the league average. You're going to have a bunch of Babe Ruth hitting 20 home runs per game. Now, I really like how the base game works. I just don't like that aspect of it. I think if people bring a bunch of Babe Ruths into the game, they don't want that to become league average and see them hit 20. They want to see a bunch of Babe Ruths hitting 60 bombs and just seeing what happens. So I think the way to do that then is for every Babe Ruth you bring into the game, you have to bring like a Buddy Biancalana or someone else who just has no power, so that you're balancing the the league average, or you're preventing that normalization from sitting in the middle, and you create a bimodal distribution of new talent so that they'll still act like you expect them to. You'll still have these low power hitting counterweights kind of to the high power hitting Babe Ruth. So it's great to figure that out, because now when we do sims like this in the future, um, we can design that in to make sure that we're going to get the results we want. I actually think another way to do it is, instead of having to, you know, bring into the mix these um, Matthew Boyds and Evan Whites into the experiment, we can just have them play on other teams that just play against each other. And but because they're in the same league, they'll still provide that normalization busting counterweight. But then we don't have to worry about them kind of tainting our experiment. So I think that's another way we can do it in the future. That would then, though, although the problem with that is it would require um, manual schedule building, which I think would be challenging. But might be worth it to solve the normalization issue. Anyway, that's the kind of the recap of that experiment. It took 3 or 4 episodes to do the whole thing, but in the end, I think it was worth it. Oh, here's how it started. Right, here's the Nelly Fox card. 173 avoid K. Um, good card, high contact, most of it through avoid K. Good gap power, no home run power to speak of, and then good eye. I think it'll be like a good dead ball shape if dead ball tournaments return. And then here's Nate Cornejo, right? 10 overall stuff. Uh, Otherwise has the good, the quote good shape unquote for PT 25, which is the high home run suppression and the high control. I don't necessarily believe that PBAP isn't important at all, but I do agree that in terms of like value or weight, that home run HRA and control are significantly more important than PBAP in this cycle. I don't know if there's a consensus yet on which is more important between home run suppression, HRA, and control, though. But I do believe that this shape in general works well. So yeah, so that's that update. But let's get back to what we're here to do tonight, which is the next two games of Team Not Safe for Work. Also, I have this new. See, I put it in the chat. I have this new emote that any of my, I believe I have it set so any of my followers can use it. I didn't want people to have to subscribe to use it, but let me see if I can put it in the chat here. Uh, I need to have the emote designer switch the order around. I wanted the NSF part to be the bigger part of it, but yeah, so just kind of moving stuff around. Hopefully he can do that pretty easily. I had these made on Fiverr. I've had good experiences with them, um, not just for my OOTP streaming and stuff, but also like previous ventures. So yeah, highly recommend Fiverr if you ever need like logo, like this logo, franchise time machine logo. It's from a different Fiverr contractor, but it's from Fiverr. Um, yeah, so let's fire up the base game. Um, okay, we're gonna load a game. Oh, we can just continue a game. I think I might have been looking at it just to make sure everything was still good to go. And on this episode title, I called it Game 7 and 8. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Because the last time we were supposed to do games 4 and 5, but I noticed that it was a 3-game homestand. And yeah, we're 5 and 1, so it was games 4, 5, and 6. So here's why I played the extra game. If you look at our schedule, right after that 3-game series of the Cubs, we have a bunch of 2-game series. So I thought, oh, each one of those could be like a nice, tidy little episode or stream. Actually, while we're here, I use FTM Franchise Time Machine as the abbreviation whenever I'm bringing teams over. Um, but now that, mostly because that way I can always make my roster files. And let me show you what I mean by a roster file. I found this. It's not like I invented it, but the game has this way of you can create these text files. Um, here's one. Let me share my notepad. All right. I apologize for those of you who've watched my multiple versions of my streams. I end up showing these a lot. But basically, it's the player ID, which you can find in the game or in baseballreference.com, the year of the version if you wanted them, and then the destination. The destination is a 3-letter abbreviation. Well, I never know what team I'm going to take over. I'm going to have my usuals or favorites, but to avoid that problem of having to like edit this file, I just use FTM for Franchise Time Machine. And then I'd rather edit the destination in the league's structure once than have to go into this file and edit this FTM into a different team name 26 times. So it's kind of out of laziness. Um, so that's why our abbreviation in this game is FTM, because I didn't want it to matter when I was building the roster. Like, I didn't have to know in advance what team we're going to take over. But now that we're here, I can change this now. And you can change this too. Like if you're playing Perfect Team, you can change it there. And if you're playing base game, you can definitely change it here. But the same mechanism works in Perfect Team. So where my abbreviation is FTM, I think you can do up to 4 letters. So we'll just do NSFW, not safe for work. Okay. See, now you see up here it changed. So now that's our abbreviation. I like that a little better now. Okay, so tonight we're gonna have, I think, a couple games here. We're gonna be home versus the Cardinals, 2-game homestand, and then we'll be on the road against the Phillies in the next stream. All right, so if we go to the manager's office, you can see the matchup. Right, we're playing against the Cardinals. It's they're pitching Steve Carlton. We're pitching Doug Fister. So let's see if there's anyone who hasn't played in a while that we want to see play. Um, so I'm getting a little bored of calling Heine Sand's name during the play-by-plays. So let's see if any of these other folks can play shortstop. If you go to position ratings, you can see like who can play what position. So Heine Sand's been our starting shortstop. Okay, we can move Glasscock to third because we have a lot more play or short. We have a lot more players who can play third. So we'll move Glasscock to third. This is against the lefty. Oh, he's already at third. So who's playing short? Heine Sand's playing short. So, oh no, I was going to move Glasscock to short. Sorry, I had that backwards. So he's playing short now. So now there's a lot more players who can play third. So who do we want to get into this game? Butts Wagner. Oh, Johnny Dickshot can play third. He's already playing center though. So yeah, maybe Butts. We haven't. Um, both Boob Fowler and Stubby Clapp or lefties. So I think we want to go Butts Wagner. Pujols can play third in the pinch too, and then that would allow us to play Lecoq at first. Um, no, let's go Butts. We'll put Butts in at third base. Okay. Then the pitching staff. Doug Fister starting. I think we're still happy with our bullpen. No one's actually had to pitch much. So yeah, I think we're good there. The main thing, I guess, is do we want to bring anyone up? It's pretty early, but let's see what's going on here. So in A ball, there's only A ball and then short season ball, rookie ball um in this version of the world. And what I did is I shortlisted our players so they all show up as all caps. And the AI lets you know with these green arrows who they think are ready to move up a level. So a bunch of these like um non NSFW players, but like Pud Galvin's ready to come up, Randy Bush, Dick Burns. Might be fun seeing Dick Burns pitch. Who we sent, but I don't want to send people down until they had a chance to pitch. Like very few people have pitched out of the bullpen so far. So, um, maybe part of that is our sliders. Oh, our sliders aren't set at all. Okay, here's a basic one I use for tournament play. But we're gonna use some quicker hooks so we get more players in the game. So quick hook for starting pitchers, quick hook for relievers. And maybe let's do some more pinch hitting too. Do a little more pinch hitting for position players. Also, just to encourage more kind of coming in and out of the game. So if you're not familiar with these sliders, you can also set them for different times in the game. Like early in the game, you might want to have a different strategy than like late in the game. And late game, uh, close game versus late game lead, late game big lead. You might want to do different things. Right now, it's set for everything. Everything has the same sex. When you really get into your strategy, you can get like pretty granular with it, which is cool. I think what happens is this defaulted because I changed our bench coach to Come Posey, who was a manager and team owner from the Negro Leagues. But Come Posey's name works with our theme, so he's a natural fit. Speaking of, I forgot, I'm still looking for personnel. So if you go to your front office and then personnel, you can see your staff and then your minor league coaches. So far, Composi is the only one I've got in there. I think our trainer, which is basically a doctor, um, someone sent me a link to a website that has like supposedly real doctor names that are amazing. So if I can confirm one is real, I might use one of those names. I think it'd be a good fit for our team. Um, all right. So then I think we're ready to play the game. So as you go to scores and then hide scores, if you've ever seen a streamer doing highlights on a stream, this is how they're doing it. In Perfect Team, it's in a different place. You use this little gear to find it. But in the base game, you find it here, hide scores. So that means when I quick play this, it's going to blank out the scores. So then it'll give us options of like play by play or highlights or box score, and we're going to do play by play. So we'll go ahead and quick play the game. Okay, see the scores are blanked out, and then we'll watch a replay. Still on my to-do list is to learn from people like Dr. Dynastic, people who do these streams a lot, what settings they would recommend for the cameras and stuff. And so we got Doug Fister facing Lou Brock, and today's battery for NSFW is Fister Gooch. Cardinals are in fourth place at 3-3. We're in first place at 5-1. And Lou Brock hits it to right field. It's going to be a base hit. He's in at first base. Fister will probably keep an eye on him because he's a speedster. Now, I can't actually control anything like pitching out or holding the runner. This game has already happened. We're just seeing the highlights. So it's out of our hands right now. So curve flood up. They've got back-to-back speed here, up to second base, and it's Woody Held flipping it to shortstop, and Jack Glasscock trying to turn two, and Glasscock does it. Turns two for the double play. Woody Held to Jack Glasscock to Albert Pujols, 4-6-3. All right, that brings up Veda Pinson to face Doug Fister. Pinson pops it up to the left side of the infield, and it looks like it's Jack Glasscock puts it away to end the inning. All right, that brings up the top of the lineup for the NSFW team. Jack Glasscock, shortstop, leading it off. Glasscock hits it short. It's past the shortstop in the left field. Glasscock is in safely at first. That brings up Rusty Kuntz. Kuntz is playing right field today. And he hits the right field. That's a base hit. We'll see if Glasscock stays at second. Nope, Glasscock is going for third. And Glasscock slides in safely to third base. All right, that brings Albert Pujols with 2 runners on, second and third. No outs, 1-1 count. Let's hit the right field. That'd be an easy fly out. Let's see if the runners advance. Nope, Glasscock holds at third. All right, brings up Johnny Dickshot. Dickshot at the bat. Rusty Kuntz at second. Jack Glasscock at third. 1 out. Dickshot hits the right field. It's a shallow fly ball. We'll see if the runner holds. Yep, Glasscock stays put in third base there. So second and third with no outs. 2 tries to advance the runner. 2 fly balls just not quite deep enough to drive Glasscock home. That brings up Woody Held with 2 outs. And it's hit to center field. Easy fly ball. Ends the inning. Team NSFW really missed an opportunity there. 2 runners on with no outs and cannot score any of them. All right, Fister facing Joe Torre to lead off the second. And Torre walks. All right, that brings up Tim McCarver. Fister throws over to first. Runner safe. So ground ball to second base is dropped by the shortstop. Jack Glasscock cannot hang on to the ball. I don't know who they charged that error to. Is there any way I can find out? Hmm. I'm used to playing these games where I have access to the in-game stats. In the replay mode, I don't necessarily know how to pull those up. And Shannon goes down swinging to Fister. 1 out now, 2 runners on. Fister. Line drive to right field. That's in for a base hit. And looks like Fister's going to give up 1, maybe 2 runs. Nope. Bases loaded. No run score on that one. So Rusty Kuntz got that ball back in quickly to hold the runners in place. But bases loaded with only 1 out. Ground ball to short. Glasscock to Held to Pujols. They turn the double play and get Fister out of that jam. That double play really saves him with the bases loaded. That 6-4-3 Glasscock to Held, Jack Glasscock to Woody Held to Albert Pujols got Fister out of a really tight spot there. And that brings up from the bottom of the second, Dick Sizzler is going to start things off facing Steve Carlton. It's a ground ball to second base. Easy put out at first. That brings up Johnny Gooch, catcher, with 1 out. He hits it hard to first base, but that's going to be an easy unassisted put out for Shannon. All right, Butts Wagner now. The last hope in the bottom of the second here. Oh, he's it hard to right field. It's into the corner, but the right fielder, Pinson, snags it in the corner for the 3rd out of the inning. All right, pitcher versus pitcher here as Fister faces Carlton. And Carlton hits it deep into right field, off the wall for extra bases. Kuntz gathers it and throws it in, cut off to third. But the pitcher Carlton's in there safely with a leadoff triple, as the throw to Butts Wagner at third was not in time. All right, leadoff runner on at third. Lou Brock up at bat, and he hits it deep to right field. That's going to be a base hit, probably extra bases into the right field corner. And Lou Brock has speed to spare, so he's in safely with a double, no problem. All right, Kurt Flood now up. Team NSFW down one, still no outs and a runner on scoring position at second base. Ground ball to short, picked easily and thrown over to first by Jack Glasscock, scores the out. But advances Lou Brock to third. So runner on third with only one out. Pinson hits it to left field. It's in the left center field gap. Dick Sizzler ranges over and makes the catch, but that's going to be deep enough and had him kind of running away from home plate, so he could not make the throw in time. So St. Louis scores us another run to go up 2-0. All right, Joe Torre up with 2 outs, 3-2 count against Pfister. And it's a pop up to right field. Pujols is under it and makes the catch. All right, franchise not safe for work comes up to bat down 2-0 now, with the pitcher leading off. And Pfister goes down swinging. Brings up Jack Glasscock with 1 out. Leadoff hitter. Hits it to the right side of the infield, but easy put out by the first baseman. And Rusty Kuntz. Last hope in the bottom of the third. And he's a soft line drive to the third baseman to end the inning. All right, so that brings up Tim McCarver with no outs. Pfister delivers, and McCarver pops it up to left field. Easy put out for Dick Sizzler. All right, Mike Shannon's now up. 1 out, 3-1 count facing Doug Pfister. And Pfister surrenders the walk. Shannon moves down to first base, bringing up Javier. Line drive to right field. It's another base hit. Base runner rounds second, but decides to hold. Pfister's already scattered 5 hits here and not even 3 complete innings, getting into a lot of tough jams. Here's the pitch. Another line drive to right field. That's going to fall in front of the right fielder for a base hit. We'll probably score one. No, bases still loaded. 1 out. Runner held at third. Really nice play by Rusty Kuntz to get that ball back in an infield so quickly. We'll see if that can lead to saving a run here, as the pitcher Steve Carlton's up with 1 out. Now remember, last time Carlton came to bat, he had a triple, so this is not a sure out. Pfister winds and delivers. Hit hard, but back to the home plate. They try to turn 2 at first, but not in time. So on the fielder's choice, they prevent the run from scoring, get the out. 2 outs, full count for Lou Brock. And Pfister walks one in. That's unfortunate. Got to the full count, gave up the walk, forces a run in. So Pfister continues in this tight jam here. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Trying to get it with just giving 1 run. Flood hits the ground ball to third. And Butts Wagner flips it over to Woody Held to end the inning. So he said Jack Glasscock being at third, but he's playing short today, so Butts Wagner gets to start at third base. Okay, Albert Pujols now to lead off the bottom of the fourth. Team NSFW down now 3-0, trying to mount a comeback here. And Pujols gets us off to a good start deep in the left field. Over the fence, Pujols goes yard. All right, that's going to bring up Johnny Dickshot now with the lead cut down to 2 runs. Dickshot hits right up back through the box for a base hit, and Dickshot is in at first base safely. All right, Woody Held now up with Dickshot on first. Woody Held draws the walk. Dickshot advances to second. All right, Dick Sizzler up. Another full count here with no outs for Dick Sizzler. And he hits it hard in the left center field gap. It's past the center fielder. It's going to be extra bases. It might actually clear the bases and drive in too. Nope, base runner holds at third. So think it was Woody held, was actually held at third. And so it's Sizzler at second, Woody held at first, bringing Johnny Gooch up to bat with no outs, 2 runners on. We had the same situation in the first inning, and the runners were stranded. Let's see if Team NSFW can do a little better here. Ground ball back to the pitcher's mound, and that's going to be a free out without advancing a single runner there. So 1 out now, still second and third for Butts Wagner. Butts Wagner getting a rare start at third base, and he hammers it to center field. Deep center field. That should score a run on the sacrifice fly. So finally, they are able to do what they could not do in the first, and that is score a run with runners on second and third with no outs. Now, with 1 out, the sacrifice fly will happily trade that second out for a run to tie the game. So Doug Fister now at bat. Normally you look for him to bunt, but with 2 outs, he'll be swinging away. 1-2 count, and Fister gets jammed, and slow roller second base, easy out at first. But the damage is done. The not safe for work franchise time machine team scores 3 runs to tie it up in the bottom of the fourth. So we go to the top of the fifth now with the score tied, and Pinson facing Fister. Pinson hits hard to short, but Jack Glasscock makes the play. That brings up Joe Torre. Torre hits it hard to center field, but Johnny Dickshot ranges over to record the putout. All right, Tim McCarver up now with 2 outs. Game tied. Slow roller shortstop. Jack Glasscock comes over for it, fields it, and throws out the runner at first. All right, NSFW gets away with no runs allowed there, and they come up to bat with Jack Glasscock leading it off. Glasscock drives it to right field, but the right fielder is right there for the easy put out. Glasscock is retired. Brings up Rusty Kuntz. And Kuntz draws the walk. 3-0 count walk. All right, that brings up Albert Pujols. 1-1 count with 1 out. Throw over to first, but Kuntz is back in safely. Oh, Pujols hits it deep to center field. That is out of here. That's his 4th home run of the season, and that gives Team NSFW the lead for the first time in the game. 2-run shot puts them up 5-0. Pinch hitter Kosuke Fukudome, whose name is not a problem unless it's mispronounced, and he draws the walk. Good eye up and down the lineup today by the Team NSFW. Brings up Woody Held. Woody Held draws a walk. First and second now for Dick Sizzler. And he hammers it to left field. But the left fielder makes a great catch running away from home plate. That was Lou Brock making a fantastic play. Does not advance the runners. And so we go to 2 outs and a 3-2 count. Full count for Johnny Gooch. Gooch hits it into left field. It's going to fall in for a base hit. And it looks like it may drive in a run. Fukudome rounding third and in safely at home. Actually ends up clearing the bases. As Woody Held also scored. All right. Team NSFW now up comfortably 7-3, but it's still early. Bottom of the fifth. Butts Wagner looks to extend the inning with Johnny Gooch on second base. And they're going to walk Butts Wagner. Butts gets the free pass to bring up Doug Fister. All right, we'll see if Fister can drive in Butts. He cannot. He goes down swinging. That'll strain Gooch and Butts on second and first, respectively. All right, top of the sixth now for St. Louis. Fister still in the game. Ground ball to short, slow roller. Glasscock has to charge hard and makes the play at first. Nicely done by Jack Glasscock. Bring up Javier. Pitch hit to the first baseman, who flips it back to the pitcher. Fister records the out at first. All right, that brings up The 8-hole hitter, who grounds to second base. Woody Held flips it over to Albert Pujols for the out. And that ends the inning. Jack Glasscock now leading things off in the bottom of the sixth. And he hits a hard line drive into right field for the base hit. So Jack Glasscock leading off the inning, leading off the game. He's in safely with a single in the bottom of the sixth. All right, that brings up Rusty Kuntz. Swing and a miss. He's not at his best facing right-handers. He's much better against that left-handed pitching. Albert Pujols now 3-1 count with a runner on first, and he draws a walk. So that'll be Pujols and Glasscock on the base pass for Pete Lecoq. Lecoq hits it hard through a gap in the right side of the infield for a base hit. And play it home. Nope. Bases loaded now. 1 out for Woody Held. And he goes down swinging. We might be looking at more stranded runners here by Team NSFW. Bases loaded now with 2 outs this time for Dick Sisler. And Sisler hits one deep to left center field, but the center fielder's there for the putout. Bases loaded. Can't get the runners home. All right, top of the 7th now. Strikeout recorded by Pfister. Lou Brock now up at bat. Brock takes a pitch for a walk. 4-pitch walk there. Do not want to walk these speedsters. It's going to come back to haunt you. Hit to right field. That's a base hit. Let's see if Brock rounds first. But he stays put. So first and second for Ted Simmons. And Simmons goes down swinging. Brings up Joe Torre with 2 outs. 2-0 count. He hits it hard to center field, but the center fielder is going to range over. And Johnny Dickshot records the out. All right, Johnny Gooch is going to lead things off here in the bottom of the 7th for Team NSFW. He hits the left field. It's going to be an easy fly ball for the left fielder. Well, Lou Brock records the putout. Butts Wagner now facing reliever Chuck Taylor. He pops up to the right side of the infield for the out. 2 outs now for Doug Pfister, and they're going to keep Pfister in the game. He goes down swinging. He's surrendered 3 runs and scattered 7 hits over 7 innings. So they're going to give him the ball on the mound again in the 8th. Tim McCarver leading it off. Slow roller back to the pitcher's mound. Pfister is going to be late with the throw. This will be an infield hit. A little bit of a questionable decision to leave Pfister in. His stamina is only a 65, and we are into the 8th inning now. And I spoke too soon. Johnny Cucks is in relief. So after Pfister does his job, Cucks follows up, comes in to finish it up. Facing Mike Shannon. And Cucks is going to give up a base hit right off the bat there. Line drive lands in front of the left fielder. Gets it back in quickly, though. Nice play by Dick Sisler to hold the runners in place. First and second now for Javier. No outs. 2-2 count. Swing and a miss. Cucks records a strikeout. Bill get out of his jam after all. Bill White now. He draws a walk. Spoke too soon. The jam's getting tighter now as the bases are loaded with only 1 out. There are forces at any base, including home plate. And the strikeout. That'll be a big help there. We're down to we're up to 2 outs now with the bases loaded. Lou Brock up at bat. His speed will be dangerous. It's going to be tough to get him at first, so we may see the out recorded another base here. Hit to second. Woody Held charges it. He flips to first for the out. Okay, bottom of the 8th, Jack Glasscock up at bat. Still facing Chuck Taylor. And Glasscock goes down swinging. All right, brings up Rusty Kuntz. Kuhn sits it back to the shortstop, who charges in and makes the out for the second out of the inning, and brings up Albert Pujols on a 3-0 count. Oh no, oops! I think I might have autos played that half inning, so I don't quite know what happened. Let me see if I can replay the play-by-play. Oh, there we go. Whoa, nice diving play at second base by Javier. So that's how the inning was ended. And that brings up Kurt Flood, top of the ninth. St. Louis's last chance here to extend the game. They're down by 4 runs. Johnny Cucks trying to finish the job for Doug Fister. Ground ball to short. Jack Glasscock picks it up and throws easily over to first for the out. Here's up Bob Johnson. Line drive hit, but with the outs recorded at first. Brings up the last chance for the Cardinals, Joe Torre, with 2 outs and a full count. Draws the walk, extends the game. Runner on first now with Tim McCarver. Line drive to the left over the shortstop's leaping attempt at a catch. All right. Sizzler charges the ball, gets it back in, holding the runner at second. So first and second, forces all around for Mike Shannon. 2 outs. Line drive to left field. That's going to be a base hit. Sizzler is charging the ball, throws it in, holds the runner at third. Nice play by Sizzler to limit the damage. Base is loaded now. 2 outs. 2-2 count. Twos are wild for Javier. Another line drive to left field. That's going to drop in for a base hit. Bun's going to score. That one's Fister's been out of the game, so that one's going to be charged to Johnny Cucks. Still bases loaded. 2 outs. 1-1 count to Steve Hunts. No relation, I don't think, to Dick Hunts or Mike Hunts on our NSFW team. Sid deep to left field. Oh my goodness, that is gone. And the Cardinals have taken the lead. Johnny Cucks just got shellacked. And Seth Moorhead's going to come in, try to end the damage here, and see if he can hold the lead to 1, or the deficit to 1. And he does. He draws the shallow fly ball to center field for the easy out. Johnny Dickshot settled under that and put it away. And so, thanks to Seth Moorhead, we only have a 1-run deficit to make up. But thanks to Johnny Cucks, this game is going on. We are up 4 heading into the top of the ninth, and we come out of it down 1. All right, Woody Hell's going to lead us off here. He's got some power. And hits it hard to right field, but the right fielder comes in to make the play. Mike Shannon records that out, brings up Heavy Johnson, pinch hitting. And that's hit to left field, but that left fielder is going to settle under it, and Lou Brock makes the catch. Hey, Johnny Gooch up with 2 outs. He's the last hope for Team NSFW. Line drive to left field, but right at the left fielder, and that's going to end the game. That is a really disappointing outcome for Team NSFW. Up 4 going into the top of the ninth and could not put the game away. That's very disappointing. All right. That was very disappointing. That was brutal. I think I can save that replay. I mean, I'd rather save a winning replay, but that one might be worth saving. This is game 7. Blue 4-run lead. All right, so that replay is saved. And let's go to the next game. All right, let's do a quick check of the standings here. After game 7, we are still tied at, we're now tied for first place. The Phillies won their game, so they jumped up to tie us at first place. And the NL, and the AL, the East and West are still led by undefeated teams. Orioles at 7-0 and Athletics at 6-0. All right, let's see what's going on here today. We have um, Dick Hughes against Mel Harder. And just to make it clear, Dick Hughes is on their team. Mel Harder is on our team. With the Dicks, we set a pretty high bar for a first name, last name combination to make this team. So Dick Hughes would not even get consideration on our team because we have folks like Dick Burns, Dick Sizzler. Um, Pretty high bar that Dick Hughes is not going to clear. All right, so let's go back to the scores window here. We'll turn this hide scores and we will quick play this game. Then we'll do the play-by-play. Okay. So let's watch the replay. Game 8 of the 1969 season, inaugural season for Team NSFW. All right, Mel Harder facing Lou Brock. And today's battery will be Harder Johnson. All right, so it's the battery of Harder Johnson facing Lou Brock to lead it off for the Cardinals. And Lou Brock hits it to second base, where Woody Held makes the play, flips it over to first. Albert Pujols records the out. All right, Kurt Flood now up with one out, 1-1 count. Hit to short. Heine Sand does a nice job raging over to make the out. And Pinson's up with 2 outs. And Harder gives up a single to right field. Might be a double. Nope. Pinson's held it first. Um, the right fielder today, Dick Cox, did a good job of cutting that one off and make sure the runner didn't advance beyond first base. So that brings up Joe Torre with 2 outs. He hits it to the right side of the infield, but Woody Held makes the play at first. That brings up Butts Wagner leading off the bottom of the first here. He hits it to left field, and their left fielder barely has to move and records the out. All right. With one out, brings up Dick Cox, right fielder. Hits it right back through the pitcher's mound. The shortstop cannot make the play. It's going to be an infield hit. So Dick Cox leads it off with a single, and that brings up Heavy Johnson. Throw to first. Cox is back in safely. Heavy Johnson hits it to short. Diving play. Oh, and the transfer to second base is botched. That error will put runners on first and second with only one out. And that brings up Pujols. Cox and Johnson on the base pass. Oh, it's a wild pitch or a pass ball. Pass ball advances the runners to second and third. Pujols still at bat. And he goes down looking. Pujols struck out. That brings up Woody Held. Runners on second and third. hit to second base, slow roller. Second baseman flips to the first for the out and it retires the side. This continues the trend from the last game of not being able to score runners despite. Oh, look at this! We have quite a field situation here as the game was moved over to runway 3. All right, Woody held up with Dick Cox on third and Heavy Johnson in second, and the side is retired. 2 base runners, second in scoring position, none of them driven in. All right, that brings up Tim McCarver. Tim McCarver hits it back to the pitcher's mound. Harder flips over to Pujols for the out. All right, that brings up Mike Shannon. Harder with the wind and the delivery. That's hit to the shortstop. Jack Glasscock throws over to first for the out. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Today it's Heine Sand. Heine Sand for the out. All right, Javi, you're up. Hit to third. Butts Wagner makes the play. Throws over to Pujols for the out. And that ends the top of the second for the Cardinals. It brings up Pete Lecoq to lead off the second for Team NSFW. Lecoq hits the second base. Second baseman throws over to first for the out, and Lecoq is retired. That brings up Johnny Dickshot with 1 out. Dickshot dribbles it to first for the out. Flipped over to the pitcher for the out. That brings up Heine Sand with 2 outs, 3-1 count. He draws the walk. We run around first for Mel Harder, the pitcher. Harder hits at the third, but that's going to be an easy play at second base. Third basically takes a short out at second base to retire the side. Okay. Cardinals are leading off the top of the third, still scoreless. That's it to right field, but that will be an easy put out for Dick Cox. Dick Hughes now up for the Cardinals. He hits it to center field. That's going to be a base hit in front of the center fielder, Johnny Dickshot. Johnny Dickshot gets it back into the infield, holding Hughes to first. Brings up Lou Brock with 1 out. Oh, pickoff attempt at first. But Dick is back in safely. Another pickoff attempt. Finally a pitch to home. And Brock hits a soft ground ball to shortstop. And fielder's choice. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That must have been a soft line drive because the runner's still at first and Brock is retired. Kurt Flood hits one up the middle, base hit. Johnny Dickshot collects it and gets it back into the infield, holding runner at second. Pinson facing Harder. Ground ball to first. Gets by the first baseman. Pujols cannot come up with that. Gets out to the right field. Jake Cox gets it back in, but the damage is done. A run scores. Runners at second and third for Joe Torre. Joe Torre hits it to center field, and that'll be an easy put out by Johnny Dickshot to end the inning. All right, so bottom of the third, we've got Butts Wagner facing Dick Hughes. And Butts hits it to second base for a lineout. Dick Cox now up at bat. Dick Cox hits it to center field. That'll be another put out by an outfielder. All right, 2 outs now for Heavy Johnson. Heavy Johnson drives at the right field, and it's going to drop in for the right fielder. And so that's a base hit. Heavy Johnson will be the runner on first for Albert Pujols. Johnson is on the run. Heavy Johnson steals second. 2-0 count now for Albert Pujols. He hits at the left field. That's going to be a base hit. They're going to send Heavy Johnson. Heavy Johnson trying to score. Heavy Johnson slides in safely and scores. All right, Woody held now up. Throw over to first. Pujols back in safely. Another throw to first. Pujols slides back in safely again. Not really a threat to run here, but Woody Hill hits a soft ground ball to second. It's scooped and thrown to first for the out. But franchise time machine's not safe for work team ties it up at 1. All right, Tim McCarver leading off things for the Cardinals on the top of the fourth. He is at center field, but that's going to be an easy put out by Johnny Dickshot. All right, Mike Shannon up now. He hits at the shortstop. Oh, and Heine Sands can't pick it up. That would be an error on Heine. All right. It'll be one out for Javier. Hits it hard to left field, but Pete Lecoq makes the play on the warning track. I think it's the warning track. All right, two outs now. Shannon's still on first. Throw over to first. Shannon back in safely. Hit to short again. Heine Sands picks it up, flips it to Woody Held at second for the out. All right, bottom of the fourth now. Pete Lecoq leading things off. Team NSFW. Lecoq hits at the first. That's going to be an unassisted put out by the first baseman. Mike Shannon records the out, and that'll bring up Johnny Dickshot facing a 1-2 count. And Johnny Dickshot hits it to right field. Diving catch by the right fielder. Dickshot is retired. And that brings up Heine Sands with two outs and a 1-2 count. Swing and a miss for a strikeout. And that brings up top of the fifth. St. Louis up with Dick Hughes leading things off. Base hit up the middle for Dick Hughes. Johnny Dickshot scoops it and gets it back into the infield. Runner on first now for Lou Brock. Rock hits it hard to right field. That's going to fall in front of the right fielder, Dick Cox. And let's see if the runner advances to third. Nope. Dick Hughes has held at second. So it'll be first and second with no outs, though, for Kurt Flood. It's a bit of a jam for Harder. Oh, and the pass ball gets away. Runners do not advance, though. Lucky break there. That's a pop up to the right side of the infield. I think Pujols calls off Woody Held and makes a play. All right, Pinson up at bat now, first and second with one out. Hit hard to left field, but a nice play by Pete Lecoq. All right, brings up Joe Torre with two outs now. 1-2 count for Torre. Hit second base. Woody Held fields it and throws it to Pujols for the out. Gets out of that jam. And Mel Harder gets to lead it off here, bottom of the fifth. Try to help himself out here by getting things started. And he goes down looking. Butts Wagner now, the leadoff batter. Hits it to right field. And that's an easy put out for the right fielder. That brings up Dick Cox with two outs. Ground ball to short. And the putouts made at first base. That ends the inning. Tim McCarver's going to lead things off for the Cardinals in the top of the sixth. Ground ball to shortstop. Heine Sands throws to first. Not in time. McCarver's in safely. Heine Sands could just not get it over there in time. Another ground ball short. Heine Sands does not make the play. It gets through to center field. Johnny Dickshot scoops it and holds the runner to second. But that's two plays it seems like Heine Sands could have made to keep runners off the base pass. Instead, it is first and second for Javier. Pickoff play at second. He's safe. Another walk here. Another base runner allowed by Mel Harder. Bases loaded now. Base load for the 8-hole hitter, shortstop Maxville. He hits it to center field. It's going to hang up there. Johnny Dick shots under it, makes the play, throws it into the infield, trying to hold the runners, and he does. Dick shot all over that. Makes the catch and keeps the runners from advancing. Nice play by Johnny. Brings up Dick Hughes with one out. Oh, the pass ball gets away from the catcher. Heavy Johnson not able to make the play. Gives up a run. And we lose the force out, so it's now second and third with one out for Dick Hughes. Fly ball to center field. Dick shot settles under it. He is all over this one again. Oh, no, sorry. I'm sorry. That was only to the shortstop. That was Heine-San puts it away. So the runners do not advance on the pop up to short. That brings up Lou Brock. 2 outs. And he is given a free pass and walks. 1-1. Oh, walks. Do we walk a run? No. Oh, the run scored on the pass ball. That's right. So walks the bases loaded for Kurt Flood with 2 out. Ground ball past the first baseman into right field. Dick Cox collects the ball, throws it back in, but the damage is going to be done here as 2 more runs score. Second and third, 2 outs for Pinson. That looked like a line drive to second base, perhaps? Ends the inning. But the damage is done. Team NSFW down 4-1 now. Heavy Johnson leading off the bottom of the sixth. He gets a base hit to center field to start things off. Runner on first now for Pujols. Pujols goes down swinging. Right. Woody Held now up. Throw to first. Another throw to first. Heavy Johnson back in safely. Woody Held goes down swinging. 2 outs now for Pete Lecoq. Lecoq takes the pitch. Heavy Johnson sliding into second. Heavy Johnson steals second base. 3 steals on the season for Heavy Johnson. Runner in scoring position now for Pete Lecoq, who hits it to center field. But the center fielder's under it and records the putout. That ends the inning. Another scoreless inning for Team NSFW, still trailing 4-1. St. Louis will be looking to extend that lead. Joe Torre comes to bat, leading off the seventh. Harder still in the game. Line drive to left field over the shortstop Heine-San's head. And Pete Lecoq collects and gets it back into the infield. All right, Tim McCarver up now. No outs with Joe Torre on first. Line drive into left field. That falls in. Another base hit. Google Earth logo on the field. And it'll be first and second for Mike Shannon. Pitch to Shannon. Swings and misses. Harder records the strikeout. All right. It's strikeout on the changeup there. That brings up Javier. 2 runners on. Harder to Johnson. Line drive to right field. And it's going to drop in front of Dick Cox. Dick Cox gets it back in quickly, though, holding the runners in place. So it'll be bases loaded and one out. All right, bases loaded for the 8-hole hitter. Hit to right field. That also drops. Dick Cox collects that one, tries to get it back in time to hold the runners. Cheeky, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it. Welcome everybody to the Franchise Time Machine. Let me show you what we got going on here tonight. This is game 8 of the inaugural 19th season for Team NSFW with the dirtiest sounding names from across baseball history. And we are now in the top of the 7th. Cardinals are leading 4-1. And we have apparently moved onto an airfield. We've seen this happen before in Max LP 80s streams. First time I've had it in a long time. But that's what we're doing. Also, earlier did a read of some experiments I was doing with low stuff pitchers facing high avoid K batters, and we figured out how to fix a normalization issue by also having high stuff pitchers facing low avoid K batters, so that everyone would kind of behave more like they were expected. But getting back to the game here, St. Louis has scored an insurance run to go up 5-1, and the bases are loaded with still one out. Facing a pinch hitter for the pitcher. And that's a base hit in the left field. Lecoq picks it up and is going to try to hold the runner at third. And he did not do it. Another run scores. So 7-1 now for St. Louis. And it looks like Guy Bush has been brought into the game. Guy Bush delivers to Lou Brock and issues a walk. Bases loaded again for St. Louis. And that's going to be a line drive to the third baseman. Butts Wagner makes the catch and turns the double play unassisted. Butts Wagner on the ball there. Finally ends the inning, but the damage is done. Trailing 7-1 now. The team NSFW comes to bat with Kosuke Fukudome leading things off. Fukudome, his name is perfectly safe unless you mispronounce it. Still looks dirty, though, on the lineup sheet. And he hits the ball back through the box, but the second baseman picks it up, throws to first for the out. That's Heine Sand up with one out, 2-2 count. And Heine Sand goes down looking. That brings up Rusty Kuntz. See if he can extend this inning. 2 outs, 2-2 count for Rusty Kuntz. And he goes down swinging. That's a quick 1-2-3 inning for the Cardinals pitching staff. Top of the 8th, Cardinals will be looking for more insurance runs. And Chen-Ming Wang is now in the game. Wang in relief. More like mop-up duty, I guess. But Heine Sands ranges over that one and records the out at first. Wang now facing Torrey. 1-2 count with one out. Hit hard past the third baseman into left field. Lecoq goes into the corner chasing that one down. Lecoq retrieves it and throws it back into, I guess that's the infield. Runway 3. And Torrey is in safely at second. That's Tim McCarver now up at bat with one out. 0-2 count. Wang delivers. And that's hit past the third baseman into left field. Lecoq gathering that one. He's been busy out there in left field gathering up all these base hits. And that's going to advance Torrey to third. McCarver's on first. Still no runs scored in this inning. See if we can get out of this jam here. Throw to first. McCarver's in safely. Pitch delivered again past the third baseman, back out to Lecoq again. Lecoq's been very busy out there. All these base hits going right out to him in left field. All right, Shannon on second. Two more runs have scored. 9-1 game here. Oh, Dr. Zeva, you like this ballpark? I the ballpark's good. I prefer runway 1, but this runway 3 is good too. Happens every time you actually change the screen size. All right. The pitch from Wang. I have no idea what we're looking at right now. I think that was Woody held maybe to Albert Pujols at first to retire the runner. We have 2 outs now. Shannon at third for Dave Ricketts. Ricketts pinch hitting. Wang delivers, and that's hit into center field in front of Johnny Dickshot for the base hit. Another run scores. 10-1 now, Cardinals. And Wang finally gets out of the inning with a strikeout. All right, Boob Fowler leading things off in the bottom of the eighth. And Boob goes down swinging. All right, Stubby Clap in pinch hitting. And Stubby Clap draws the walk. Runner on first now for Heavy Johnson. And Johnson pops it up to the right side of the infield. First baseman puts it away for the out. 2 outs now. Stubby Clap still at first for Albert Pujols. That's hit to the first baseman who flips it to the pitcher to end the inning. All right, Cardinals now up again, up 10-1. So Team NSFW came into this game with a 5-1 record. It looks like they're going to leave with a 5-3 record. They're going to get swept in this 2-game series unless they can really turn things around here in the ninth. And that's another base hit. This time to Johnny Dickshot in center field. So Brock on first with a leadoff single brings up Kurt Flood. Kurt Flood hits the right side infield. Diving play by Woody Held, who records the out at first. I think that's unusual in this game, the base game, for a diving infield play to actually lead to an out. Usually I see the ball just kind of trickle away from the fielder after that. Or maybe that's more of a PT thing. In either case, that brings up Pinson facing Wang. And Wang issues another free pass. 20 hits so far given up by the NSFW team to St. Louis. And that's not even counting all the walks. So that brings up Torrey. Joe Torrey hits it to the right side of the infield. Pujols throws it to Heine Sands for the out. And I guess they turned the double play. All right. Well, last chance here for Team NSFW, down 9. Woody Held leading things off. Woody Held hits it to right field. It's going to be an easy fly ball for the right fielder for the first out of the inning. 2 outs away now for sweeping the series. Pete Lecoq looking to extend the inning here. Lecoq hits it right back up through the middle for the base hit. Lecoq in safely at first. Let's see if that can get this offense started. Fukudome now with one man on, pops it up to the left side of the infield. That'll be out number 2. And Johnny Gooch is going to be brought in to pinch hit. Gooch draws a walk. Extends the game first and second for Dick Sizzler. The manager's really pulling out all the stops, bringing all the pinch hitters. Dick Sizzler now with two men on. Hits a slow roller to second baseman, and he'll beat it out. That's an infield hit for Dick Sizzler. Bases loaded for Boob Fowler. And Boob hits it to left field, but that is going to be an easy out. That mercifully ends the game. 10-1. And we'll say goodbye to the runway. As we head back to the manager's office here, let's unhide the scores. That's a brutal 10-1 loss there. 20 hits to R6. All right, let's see what happened around the league. Yeah, we have dropped now to a tie for second place. Let's see what happens as we finish the day. Wow, we are in a four-way tie for first place in the NL East. Phillies lost as well, so it's the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Pirates, and Team NSFW all tied for first place in the NL East. In the AL, the two division leaders remain undefeated. Orioles moved to 8-0, and the Athletics advanced to 7-0. All right. Go ahead and save this game. Do a quick check of the stats before we wrap up this sim for tonight. Um, yeah, I think the top end of rotation has already had two starts now. No one with more than one win. Mel Harder with two decisions, 1-1 record. Doug Fister so far been our most effective starter, 1-0 with a 3.86 ERA. It's very small sample size here. We're still only 8 games into the season. Let's check out the batting stats. We'll sort by OPS. Yeah, 8 games in, Pujols leading with a 4.19 average and a 14.03 OPS, by far our best hitter so far. 13 RBI, more than 3 times our next RBI total from Heavy Johnson with 4, and Johnny Dickshot with 4. Also has 4 home runs. He may be in the running for league lead. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, tied for league lead with 4 home runs. Albert Pujols. He actually may be. No, he's not. Doesn't have the batting average for yet. But at 419, if he qualifies, he can keep that up. He might be in the running for a triple crown there. Still super early though. 8 games in the season. It's still 1/20th of the way through. All right. So for those of you who join in the raid, um, I do a few different things on this stream. I think I have a slide here that shows some of the stuff we do. See if I can find that. Hmm. Where is that list? Okay, here's an older list, but here's some of the stuff we do. Right now, what you're watching here is an ongoing save of this NSFW team. So I'm going to do that probably one night a week, do 2 or 3 games per stream. Some of the other stuff. So I haven't done this yet in OOTP 25, but I usually, every version of OOTP I buy, I do an ongoing save where I put myself and my friends into the game, usually onto the 1991 Mets. So it's me, some of my little league and high school teammates, some of the kids I played stickball with, some of the guys I played intramural softball with, and basically I create like superhero versions of like very exaggerated versions of me and my friends and put ourselves into the game. So like the guy who played right field on our intramural softball team, super fast, had a cannon of an arm, line drive hitter. So that's I kind of use like Roberto Clemente as the model for him. And yeah, so basically that's what I do. I think of like, okay, who's the Hall of Famer? Who's like the exaggerated version of each person, and then I tweak that using editor. I thought that would be a good one to do on stream because it's a lot of editor, a lot of player creation, a lot of league creation. So I'll be doing that soon at some point. Another thing I do is omniscient GM. I think a lot of people this is like the default way of playing um, base game, which is you take over a historic team, usually your favorite team, some point in the past, and you run them as the GM. But you already know what's going to happen. Like you know which players are going to be good. You know which players are going to get injured and leave the league, and so you have a lot of inside information that you can use to really fleece the other GMs and put together like um, a great save. So probably doing that at some point. But the things I have been doing so far are all-time greats. So we did like the all-time greatest rookies and brought them into 2023, and they just demolished the Major 2023 Major League Baseball. Did the same thing with father and sons on Father's Day. So some of the greatest father and son duos who have played the game. They also won. I think both of those teams won over 130 games, so just like crushing it. All-time favorites. This is something new, um, and it's underway. We haven't done an official stream of it yet, but I've already gotten some rosters in. So the idea was, um, there's actually a quick save or a quick start in OOTP 25. I don't know if anyone's played with the quick saves, but it's the all-time greats rosters of the 30 major league teams. But I wasn't quite happy with the setup. There's a few issues with it. The first is there are several players who were the season they chose was the season they were not on that team. So I think, for example, I think the Padres have John Kruk, but the season they chose is I think a Phillies John Kruk, which I think is an odd choice, given it's supposed to be the Phillies. Um, and just in general, I think whatever algorithm they use to pick the players, um, I think that there could have been some more interesting choices made. And so I checked with Paul Sporer from OOTP, content director, just to see like who created those rosters, and he didn't know. So at least it's a good sign it wasn't him, and I kind of knew it wouldn't be him because I think he would have chosen differently too. So instead of trying to build my own, I've decided to reach out to different people in the OOTP community, mostly starting with um, affiliates and some of the more active um, players in the community. Let me see if I can find. I have a list. It probably needs updating, but I have some of the folks who have agreed to participate. And it's a fun list of great folks. Um, let me see if I can find that. Hmm. Can't seem to find it, which is weird because there are only so many places it could be. Huh. Okay, well, here's how it's going to work. For each Major League franchise, I'm going to ask somebody to give me their roster of their favorite players and the seasons for each player. And it can't just be their favorite players because it has to form a roster. So they're going to have to pick, a couple catchers and, um, but anyway, we've gotten really positive response. So, for example, Cheeky, who raided into us tonight, and Cheeky, thanks again for the raid. Cheeky has put together a Padres roster. So his favorite Padres and the years he wants for each of them. Um, Twins 34 has done the Twins roster, and that one goes all the way back to the Senator. So he has a lot of historic players he can pick from. I'll be doing the Mets. And so for each one I get, so let's, for example, Cheeky sends me his Padres roster. I'm going to replace the 2023 Padres with his Padres and see how they do. And then, regardless of what happens in that sim, I'm going to then take that roster and put it into I'm calling it franchise favorites, into a franchise favorites league. And so each time a team plays, we're going to put that roster into that league. So each roster will be used twice, once in 2023, and then once into this added to this league. And then once the league is full, we have all 30 rosters, our franchise favorite rosters. We'll then do an entire sim of a season with all these, all-time great players in one league. Now, I think we all know the teams with the longer histories, like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, they're going to have a huge advantage. But I don't think the point's to win. The point's to just see all these players play against each other. So we're going to roll with it. I think one interesting alternative to that will be I've been asked to set up a head-to-head um, version of this with Don't Cut the D Block Dragons Royals against Paul Sporer's Tigers. But to make it fair, they've come up with an interesting wrinkle, which is Paul can only pick Tigers from the year the Royals came into Major League Baseball forward. So both of them are picking from the same chronological pool. And so I think that'll help make it a little more fair. And if that works out, I may then go back and ask people for, hey, that roster you gave me, can you give me a version where it's all players who've been like since the expansion era? I think that's one way to make it fair. Um, and so far, everyone's been so responsive that I think that could work. But let's run this first. So that's another thing I'm working on there. And then revisionist history is where we do all kinds of experiments with teams and try different things to improve them. And some of them I've created into I think I call game night, where I'm going to give people different options, or give myself so far, because it's just been me, different options on how to improve the teams. And so it's not just like willy nilly adding as many players as I want, but like following different rules. And I think this would be a fun way to involve the community too, where people can pick their favorite team, maybe one that didn't quite make it to win the World Series, and do one of these treatments to see if we can kind of put them over the top. And then the last thing, which I've been doing a lot of lately, which is this kind of mad scientist thing where I really take full advantage of the base game by doing things like um, so Laptop Hound, for example, he's one of our longer streaming affiliates. He's a big Toronto Blue Jays fan, and for whatever reason, he's a Kitty Bransfield fan. So I made a roster that's just all versions of Dave Stieb in the pitching staff and all versions of Kitty Bransfield in the lineup. And so I called it Team Kitties and Steves and put them in 2023 Major League Baseball to see how they would do. Um, Another example is this thing I've been doing recently, trying to make all low stuff pitchers face the same low strikeout batters. Also recently after Willie Mays passed away, I did a stream of 4 different peak Willie Mays added to the 2023 Mets. And that's one where it really shows kind of some of the limitations of the AI, because I chose 4 because I figured he could play every outfield spot and he could DH, because in 2023 the Mets have a DH spot. And I chose the Mets because I like the Mets, and also that's where Willie Mays ended his career. He played his last 2 seasons for the Mets. Um, but to show you how the AI can AI, um, it sent one of the Willie Mays to the reserve roster and instead continue to have Daniel Vogelbach play DH instead of putting one of the peak Willie Mays in DH. So that's the kind of thing where it's always fun to see what the results are, but along the way, it's also interesting to see what is the AI doing, what kind of RNG is happening, and so Even on the sims, I do them like 1 month at a time so we can check in and see what's happening, so we can hopefully spot some of those RNG or AI type things. Um, yeah, so there's the recurring NSFW thing, and then all these things kind of come in and out. I've been doing a lot more of the mad scientist stuff on Thursday. So after the Twipped card releases, there's usually like an idea that comes to mind based on that. Um, let me see if I can find the title card for this one. So recently, I think maybe a few weeks ago, um, when introducing the Artie, who is the Artie, the Negro League shortstop who has a great card? Artie Wilson, I think. In introducing the Artie Wilson card, Paul Sporer mentioned that he had lost a thumb in a machinery accident, and oh yeah, here it is, and it was Artie Wilson. All right, so it was an Artie Wilson inspired sim where after Paul told the story about how he lost a finger, I think it was a thumb too, which is kind of amazing that he can continue to play at a high level. Um, I thought, well, I know of other major leaguers who have lost fingers, so I found five of them and added all five of them to the 2023 Mets just to see what would happen. And so that was a lot of fun. So I can actually show you on that one. It was Artie Wilson. And so if you think about it, he threw righty and batted lefty. So think of what that takes. And despite losing most of his right thumb, right? So you think about throwing righty without your right thumb and then batting lefty, right? That's your lead hand. So doing that without a right thumb, I think that's kind of incredible. And four out of the five of these played Major League Baseball after losing their finger. Uh, Mordecai Peter Centennial Brown, more commonly known as Three Finger Brown. I think most baseball fans have heard of him. If you played Perfect Team, he had a great card in PT 24. He lost most of his index finger to farm equipment, and anecdotally, I think there were claims that he had a more effective breaking ball and more movement on his pitches because he's missing that finger. I don't necessarily know how true that is, but I do remember when I was doing the research, I was like, he has four fingers. Like he still has his thumb. I thought the whole time when they called him Three Finger Brown that he had lost two fingers or a finger and a thumb. And then when I saw this picture, I'm like, oh, he's actually Four Finger Brown. But anyway, I like learning about baseball stuff, and I've learned a ton playing. Uh, I learned a lot playing OTP. I'm learning a lot more playing Perfect Team just because of all the card drops and when I play OTP, I'm usually only seeing like a sliver of baseball history because I'm usually doing saves. Or when I do weird experiments or bring players from across time, but I'm usually bringing the same players, my same favorites. So I'm learning a lot more through Perfect Team. And then Hugh Ignatius One Arm Daily. Um, he was a power pitcher who was known for his temper and had to change teams 6 different times in 6 seasons. And then Carlos May, who uh, this was interesting. When I looked at the times on these things, I realized he was in the Marine Reserves during the baseball season, or I guess between seasons, and he was cleaning out a mortar and it went off, and it blew off his right thumb. And so you can see in this picture he's wearing that glove. That glove is to help protect his injured hand. And he finished. It happened during his rookie season, and he still finished third in Rookie of the Year voting. And he had been an All Star because, of course, the All Star game happened before the accident. And then in 1970, so not even a year after losing his thumb, he returns and hits this slash line 285, 373, 414 for an OPS of 788. after losing a thumb. And so this one was a suggestion from Fussmucker. So I would have missed it otherwise. So that's another great thing. Like I get a lot of input from the community, things like Fussmarker suggesting this, or people contributing to that franchise favorites thing. So I like to go beyond kind of how I used to play the base game by myself, and include more people. And the streaming is part of it. So having an audience in the stream also helps because the chat usually gives me great ideas or suggestions too. And then where is my Bobby Ojeda slide? Okay, you know what? I'm missing a slide here. Bobby Ojeda. So I'm a Mets fan. After the '89 season, I think it was, he had an accident with electric gardening shears and chopped off one of his fingers on his pitching hand. And they were able to reattach it and I guess give him enough movement that he was able to pitch again the next season. And he had effective seasons after that. So really amazing how all these players managed to continue to have productive careers after losing a finger, especially in a sport like baseball where it's so um, somewhere it's like such fine motor skills with your fingers and hands that they can still be successful. And then the final one, this is the only one who happened after his career, but Jose Canseco shot off his middle finger while cleaning his gun. And my favorite part about this story is he initially claimed that his finger fell off during a poker game before he admitted that he shot it off cleaning a gun. So he was the only one who didn't. We didn't get to see like how it might affect his game because he was already retired by the time this happened. Um, this is maybe less mad scientist because all I'm doing is bringing interesting groups of players together. The mad scientist thing is more like I play this game called Raise the Roof, Raise the Floor, which is the way I used to do it was I would give either 5 or 10 players on a team 100 points in editor to any attribute. And usually it would be either like taking the highest attribute, um like a batter's power, and just like taking it from good to like God mode. Or for a pitcher, I might like fix their control. So 100 points in the old game translates to about 220 points in the current game. Because if you haven't heard, and if you didn't play editor and go into the if you didn't play the basement go in editor, you might not have realized this. But I think it'd be apparent if you played perfect team. The scale and attributes used to go from 1 to 250, and now it goes from 1 to 550. So the ratio there is 2.2. So if I was adding 100 points before, I have to add 220 points now. So we did that, and I always like it when I learn something from these experiments, and I learned a ton in that experiment. Let me see if I can find that. Trying to find the. Oh, here's the title slide for the Kitties and Steve's experiment I was telling you about earlier. So Kitty Bransfield on the top left, and then Dave Steve in the bottom right, and the top right is a screenshot from the Kitty. Um, oh, We're on ads. Let me pause. If you're on Turbo, you're still listening to this, but so yeah, sorry. So I found that this is the title slide for that Kitties and Steve experiment I was telling you about earlier. Where on the bottom left, that's Laptop Hound. He's the one who really likes that Kitty Bransfield card. Kitty Bransfield's on the top left here, and has always liked Dave Steve, who's here on the bottom right. And then on the top right, if you've only heard the song in his stream, you may not know that this is a screenshot from the video. of the song. So um, that was the title song for that. And what I'm trying to find is the raise the roof, raise the floor stuff because I found that to be super interesting. There's so much NSFW stuff in this. So I use Google Slides to make my slides, and this one's just dominated by NSFW stuff. I actually think it might be in an older version. Let me put this up so you don't have to see me search through stuff here. But part of why I do all this stuff in the stream is I would have been doing it anyway, but I like to share stuff in case people. I want to help people learn how to play the base game themselves. I think it's so much fun that if anyone has any interest in doing it, I want to make it easier for them to do it because I learned this stuff the hard way. So I have like these various checklists I use, for example, where here's how you import historic players into the game. So not only do I show you how to do it, but then I put up this checklist as I go along. So that way, people can follow along. Some people are more visual. They can hear me explain it, but they might learn it better if they see it. Um, or they can screenshot it, right? So they have the reminder. And it's the kind of thing where I still use this checklist all the time because it's easy to forget. Or here's another one where this is the overall step by step on how you do it, right? You build your roster, doing that notebook file I showed earlier. Then you start the season. Um, the cool thing about those roster files is you can prepare those in advance. So you can just work on it over time when you have time to, look up baseball reference and figure out what players fit whatever kind of experiment or theme you want to do for that save or that sim. And, it can be asynchronous, right? You can do that over time. You don't have to be there with the game open to do that. So then you can start your season once that's ready. And then, import the players using this checklist I showed earlier. And then adjust settings. And I have a thing that shows, so here's some of the setting stuff I do. All right, so anyway, I try to like present all this stuff. So it's not just like me doing these experiments, but also showing people like what the base game can do. And, if it triggers an idea, then, showing you how you can do it yourself if you feel like it. Um, trying to find. I can't seem to find that thing I did with. Hmm. Trying to find that raise the roof, raise the floor experiment I did. Because that's one where it was super unexpected. I thought. So I chose the 1990 Rangers because it had. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. All right, so I chose the 1990 Rangers because mostly because of Bobby Witt Sr. So those of you who are whose kind of experience with baseball doesn't go back that far, I'm sure you know Bobby Witt Jr., who's the Royals' up and coming shortstop. But his dad was a pitcher for the Rangers. He pitched for other teams too, but he came up with the Rangers. He had a super live arm, was on the same pitching staff as Nolan Ryan, and I thought had a chance to follow that Nolan Ryan trajectory where Nolan Ryan came up, had no control, but super live arm, threw lots of strikeouts, threw lots of walks, and eventually learned, some control, actually quite a bit considering how he started, and became like a very effective pitcher, threw 7 no hitters. And I think, could have been better still, I guess, but statistically very effective. Strikeout leader, no hitter leader. But Bobby Witt just couldn't seem to follow that same path and find his control. So I thought, okay, well, that's a no brainer. I'll add 220 points to his control. And that roster had lots of fun players like Julio Franco and here, I can share this is what we end up doing. The thing that we learned, and there was a pretty active chat for this too, which was nice. So we're kind of learning as we go. And the base game, I don't know if you know this. Let me show you the base game. Right, let's go back to this. Like, if you open up a player, let's look up Johnny Dickshot. If you open up Johnny Dickshot, you go to his editor, right? If you go to his batting ratings, there's this line here that shows you based on this set of attributes, these are the ratings that make him up as a player. This is what you would expect to happen in a modern major league setting, right? With this set of BABIP, avoid Ks, gap, power, and I, you would have a 225 hitter with a 304 on base percentage and a 615 OPS. And if you here, I'll make some changes here. I'll just make small changes so that I can remember. I don't have to. I can remember what I did. So if I change his left BABIP versus righties, because you face more righties. If I change it from 368 to 468, if you look at down here, 468, right? His average went up from 225 to 260, and his OPS went up to 690. Right, so it can show you kind of almost in real time, like the edits you're making. What is it doing to his future performance? Right, his OPS went up, 75 points. So we were doing that during the stream and getting input from the chat and kind of learning as we go. And I thought, control would make up the biggest difference for Bobby Witt and for um, pitchers like Charlie Huff and Jamie Moyer, who are more light throwing. Like Huff has through the knuckleball, Jamie Moyer's kind of a junk ball pitcher. I thought increasing their stuff would be the most impactful. Um, but it turns out across the board for the pitchers, putting all those points towards their off-speed pitch made the biggest difference by far. Um, like double-digit WAR differences, and part of it is like you're giving them a a god level changeup, right? You're adding, so you don't want to add over. You don't add too many points. If you go over to 551, it ends up like the game doesn't know how to handle it, so it ends up going back to zero. So if you put in like 555, it treats it like it's a five. It doesn't know what to do with something over 550, at least for those attributes. And so that's another thing we learned. So we had to leave points on the table. So if someone had like 450, you couldn't add 220, you can only add 100. But at the end, you have like this, incredible changeup or incredible knuckleball. And that made the biggest difference for the pitchers. And then for the batters, I thought like for Pete Incaviglia, you want to cut the avoid K. Or mostly I thought avoid K, but it turns out you get the biggest bang for the buck by just increasing their power, and that's from two that. But that's only for players who have some power. With Gary Pettis, it didn't work because we couldn't get his power high enough to make a difference. But with someone like Incaviglia, who had a low average but high home run total, it turns out when you boost their power, they hit more home runs. And the way the game engine calculates it, um, home runs are not counted as part of their hit total from contact, right? So if we go back to Johnny Dickshot, for example, right? The BABIP and avoid K contribute to determine contact, which determines their batting average. But the home runs for power aren't counted as part of that. So any home runs are kind of icing on top of the batting average cake. So if you're a 300 hitter, but then your power adds 50 home runs, that's 50 more hits added to your batting average. And so by adding power, you're kind of enhancing contact too in a way, or you're enhancing the batting average at least. And so for all these players, it made a much bigger difference to increase their power than it did to like reduce their avoid K or something. So those are all things that we learned during the course of the sim or the stream. So, I do it thinking, well, I want to have fun doing this anyway, so I might as well let people see it. and then maybe I can show them how to do this stuff. But then at the same time, I learned a ton of stuff too. So anyway, that's what my stream's about. Um, tonight, this NF team NSFW is just kind of like I don't know, it's just like a fun palette cleanser, I guess, during the week, where it's not so much like crazy editing, crazy stuff in the editor like this, or doing wacky stuff where we have to figure out how to make things work. It's just like an easy, fun stream. And it's always fun, like looking for the names too. So if anyone comes across an NSFW name, like by all means, let me know. But we have a pretty full roster. Um, so as of right now, I don't know many names that aren't on our roster. Um, there's some where like I don't have any names that are kind of like slurs against any kind of people because I think OOTV does a great job of kind of curating the content in the stream so that it's very inclusive and so I don't include any names like that, but I'll give you an idea of who we have on our team. So one thing you may not know in the base game, if you add people to your short list, it puts them in all caps, so you can easily see like all of our players. So there's like Dick Burns in the minors, Pud Galvin, Buck Hooker, um, the unrelated Dick Hunt and Mike Hunt, Jansen Junk, Gene Crap. Um, oh, look at this. He's not even part of our team, but Ernie McAnally. But it doesn't look like Annalie. It looks like something else. I never noticed this before. He's on our roster, but he's not part of the people I added. Sir Ernie McAnally. See, I'm always learning something new. But he's on the roster right before Danny Mendick. Ernie McAnally. Man, how did I miss that? Anyway, yeah, so I'm always looking for people for that. In fact, I'm getting this edited because it's not quite exactly how I wanted it, but I had this emote made for the NSFW's team. So yeah, and also if you have a fun idea for a weird experiment you want to do, like let me know. I'm happy to run them. I mean, I have a log jam of stuff I intend to do, so I might not be able to get to it right away. But especially if it's like topical, I'm happy to do it. Like that, the Willie Macy, I wasn't planning to do it all, but then they announced his passing, and I was going to stream that night, and I thought, well, I want to do something Willie Mays related to, commemorate not just a great career, but by all accounts, like a great man. And so I came up with that. So it can be topical or it can be something you've always wondered, like what would happen if we did this. Those are the kinds of things I like to do. So keep me in mind if you think of something like that. But anyway, so we're done with the simulation for tonight. So I was going to wrap this up and look for someone to raid into. So I think if I go to the OT section, it's going to save this anyway. But I always oversave, so I'm going to save it. Exit. But while it's saving, let me look for someone streaming OOTP. At this point, I'm assuming between Cheeky's stream and my stream, you've gotten all of your drops for today. And actually, we are now 10 minutes into. No, no, we're not. And I'm not going to be on another hour tonight, unfortunately. But a lot of times I do go over. In 49 minutes, Twitch will flip over to the next drops day. And so sometimes people can end my stream or end their Twitch day, end their drops day with my stream, and then start their drops counting on the next day already. So I like to give people a head start sometimes. All right, there's no one streaming out of the park today, right now. So let me look up baseball. I like to send you to something sports related. Or if Baffle's on, I could send you to Baffle. Let me see if Baffle's on. Baffle plays OOTP, but he also streams other sports. Most recently, he was streaming the new NCAA football game. Nope. Let's see. Let me look up baseball again. Uh, Sammy 33. We've rated into him before. He was playing MLB The Show, um, but is now playing at the NCAA football game. And we know he does a pretty fun stream in MLB The Show. Let me see how he's doing here. And um, I'm gonna ask him if he's been streaming for a while. Hey, twins. Yeah, take a nap. Have a good night. Good luck tomorrow with the surgery, buddy. Hope it goes well. I'm glad you chatted just now. I was wondering if I was just talking to myself that whole time. Seems like there's a lot of away from keyboard folks tonight. Okay, he says he's gonna be on for a bit, so we can watch him play some NCAA football. I watched Baffle play it, and then he's rated into another person's play. It seems really fun. And from the way people are talking about it, it sounds like they're gonna stop playing Madden and start playing this thing. All right, y'all. I'm gonna send you into Sammy 33 X Sammy 33 X. Um, he plays MLB The Show, and tonight he's playing the college football 25 game. All right, so thanks for joining, Cheeky. Thanks again for the raid. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see some of you in my channel again next time. All right, have a great night.